plan. This is what I would advise you to do. Try to find a way to move to Australia. And I know that seems like an odd one because, like, Australia is like the end of the earth and uninhabitable, right? Uh, well, here's my theory. The Australians are a little bit more conservative than us in some ways where it matters. They are posed in a position to have an extremely viable place to fight the Chinese. If they fight the Chinese and win, god damn, you could have your take of whatever you wanted. They're going to need soldiers. What happens to Australia if all of us go there and become soldiers? Come on, World War III. Let's go fight China. I would much, much rather take the odds of living in the Australian outback and fighting China than I would dealing with the Democrats anymore. Here's my logic. It's a straight up fight. Australia is low population. We have money and numbers. You just move there. You start building your own businesses, hiring your own people. Do the Mormon thing, do the Jewish thing. You know, like make it a religion. You're being invaded by Texans. Hope you like it. If they won't give us visas, we steal fucking boats. I don't care. We just start taking it the fuck over. And I imagine that if you are willing to aid them in any way militarily, they would be open to fucking anything. The thing that I would love to do is go work for the Australian Intelligence Service. They are putting out ads and shit saying that they want people. Australian Intelligence Service, if you're at all good at your job, find me. I'd work for you. 100%. Like, I would imagine your goals are the protection of Australia and the creation of a second British Empire. I'm down. Down with all of it. You're going to need a constitution and a second amendment, and this is where the Texans are going to come in. Because if there's enough of us there to take over, enough of us there to write our own constitution and follow our own laws, then here pretty soon there ain't going to be an Australia anymore. Just be Texas too. That'd be your deal. Get saved from China. If you want a bunch of fucking trigger pullers to fucking save you from China, fully armed and equipped with a fleet to get them there and everything else, I want a Second Amendment. I want a First Amendment. Really, I want our Constitution in its entirety with the first original 10 amendments. The rest of them we can talk about with an additional couple of amendments or maybe paragraphs to the Constitution that basically educate people on how to fucking read or some shit. I don't know. Seems like they wrote it pretty much to where you couldn't get it fucked up. But yet we've managed to get there. So I would like to add some sort of a clause at the end where, like, there's one random citizen that has a button that blows up all the nukes. You better keep him happy. That would be my plan. You make one guy the decider. And it's passed from, like, I don't know, pick something weird. Seventh son to seventh son or something like that. Like that stupid movie. You give one man a little red button on a keychain that just blows up all the fucking nukes in their silos. Maybe not even thermonuclear detonations, just takes that ability away from you. Because America without a nuclear arsenal is it's in a very weak position now. And that's the place that America needs to be at with her politicians. We should be negotiating with them with a knife to their throat, telling them, okay, you corrupt motherfuckers, you're going to do what I say or I'm going to start taking body parts. I think that basically there's way less people in Australia, and there's a lot of us here. And even Texas is fucked up and corrupted by this. We would have to remain ideologically pure. So we have to be a crusade, you know, make us the fucking new Knights Templar of fucking Scotland or some shit. Because like, here's my thing: is a bunch of what this is like the leftover Scottish Americans and people that think like us, all in Texas, and then a whole bunch of, well, Scottish criminals and their descendants that are left in Australia. And some of them are fucking weenies now, as is evidenced by their gun laws. But I put it to you that half of Australia probably isn't weenies. And there's, again, less of them than there are of us. This solves many of our problems. All we need is a strong country with people that are willing to work. Now, the real question is who's going to do the scrub work, right? Because someone's got to do the shit. Well, whenever you take over Australia and make it Texas too, I imagine the Chinese will be involved in fighting somehow at some point. So, whenever you fight a world war against China as Texas 2 slash Australia, uh, I have a feeling that Texas two's Navy will be formidable. I have a feeling that we could fucking take China if we wanted to. You know, import a bunch of prisoners of war and make them do the scrub work. I don't fucking care. I really don't. Uh, at this point, someone's got to make the fucking donuts. You know, nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m. and do the hard thing anymore. Everybody'd rather just fucking sleep in, whatever. And like to some extent, I get that because like that's me to some extent. Part of that is I don't know. I'm a psycho and I have to be up all night, party all night. You know, up all day. It's not so much about partying as it is about like I don't like being asleep when other people are asleep. It's me. I like to keep the time that I sleep secret, but it damn sure ain't when other people sleep. I'd rather never sleep at all. And like this is in a nutshell is why I would like to, you know, live with a group of people that have a similar mindset so not all of us have to not sleep. And you know, if we were all living on a compound out in the middle of nowhere, my not sleeping problem would go quite a bit away. And I think that's a lot of what's wrong with the world is really the whole world's like me to some extent. I'm just a bigger asshole than some of you. And like, I don't know how to put it. Not lucky, blessed, maybe. Like, I tend to just do shit that fucking stumbles into money. And it's never like $80 billion. It's like, hey, I made 200 bucks. Hey, I made $5,000. You know, I think that's the most I've ever made that way. I made quite a bit when I sold that machine gun. Maybe more than that, if you consider that. I bought a Mac 11 380 registered machine gun, $3,500, and I sold it like 6 months later for 10 grand. And I did that because that's a lot of money, and I had pretty much decided that I didn't want to do the paperwork. And it was one thing that, hey, I've invested this money, I'm going to do the paperwork and get this gun and whatever. And it's another thing to invest that money and do the paperwork and get that gun. uh, and then pass up making $6,500 on top of getting your money back. I couldn't say no to that, especially because I passed up a Sterling SMG for $7,500, and my thought at the time was, "Folks, let's just go buy that and pocket the original money, most of it." I ended up deciding that, nah, I'm not going to do that because I didn't want a machine gun. And I took that money and threw it into some World War II guns. And I was much happier with those. I bought a rifle and pistol from all of the major powers in World War II. I got pictures of all that shits on Instagram if you want to see it. There's like literally 6,000 pictures on Instagram, and like it's over the last, like, I think I started that in 2015, maybe 2014. 2014. Yeah, I started that in 2014, I think. I definitely started doing this, whatever this is. It is this, the second shot at YouTube slash Instagram started when I first started Instagram, because like my first go at this channel, you can go watch some of those videos. They're kind of awful. They're while I was in college and I was young and nervous and didn't know how to talk, and I was awkward. I was awkward because I did not have the experience required to know that pretty much everyone else is more awkward than me. And that's the thing that makes you more comfortable as things go on. Anyway, I'm just babbling about random shit now, but I'm kind of serious. Like, if we really do want our own country that is actually a successful, modernized version of England, roughly, which is what they tried to do when they made America. They tried to make England but better. Okay? And Australia tried to make England, but I don't know. I don't really know what's up with them. I like them though. Bunch of crazy fucks. Like, the most American people I've ever met that weren't Americans are Australians. 100%. Canadians have this like weird superiority snooty shit that comes with being French. Australians are a bunch of Scottish fucking criminals. When they see you, they're like, "Oh, good day, mate." It's like cousins meeting or something. It's like in the fucking in the movie Braveheart, when the Irish and the Scottish go running at each other, and then they end up shaking hands and waving a flag and saying that they're, telling the English to go fuck themselves. I guess a lot like that. It's like they don't fully understand what they are. I understand what they are, though. Like, they're some modern futuristic dystopian version of Texas. Like, they are, if you let Texas follow its natural progression from where it is now, it would turn into Australia. That's my contention. So if we had an influx of some original Texas into Australia and make it Australia 2.0, Texas 2.0, keep all the good parts of both, ditch all the bad parts of both. Sounds like a good plan to me, because it seems like the United States has elected to become a third world nation. I I think Australia is really going to have to start developing its own military technology. I think everyone is, and I think this is like the thing people are starting to realize is, holy shit, you mean war is a thing still? You mean people could invade us? How dare you? You know, like, if that's where you're at, well, I'm a useful animal to you because I can at least teach you how to think. You have no fucking idea how to think, and that's why you're going to die. Like, this is most people's problem, in my opinion, is this podcast is not teaching you how to, do anything really other than I occasionally put in a pearl of wisdom or something like that, but it's mostly teaching you how I think and how I think about things and the way I view problems. Trying to do that anyway and communicate that in some sort of entertaining way. And the reason that I want you to get that is because I learned to do that from my grandfather. And there's not many admirable things about my grandfather, but this shit was one of it. It didn't matter who it was. You didn't really stand a chance against him, and it's not because he was the toughest son of a bitch or the biggest son of a bitch or whatever. It's because he was wily and he had a plan. And like he had the ability that when his plan went to shit, he could improvise. And like this is what like being a successful Marine Corps officer will teach you. Is the ability to work on the fly and improvise with almost nothing because that's the way they like it. And I find a lot of value in the way he thinks and sees the world in many things. And he is like a voice at the back of my head advising me most of the time because of the amount that I listen to him. And if you get even a little bit of that from listening to me, then mission accomplished. And basically, what that voice at the back of your head should be telling you in almost any fight is why do you think he's better than you? Basically, the whole gambit of any fight is mental. Like there is some physical aspects or whatever too, but if you think you're gonna lose long before you ever fucking draw swords on somebody. You have to play to win all the time or you never will. You can't take losses easily. Other people can take losses easily. They have to be a good sport. For you, you shake the guy's hand or whatever, and then you go get away from other people because you're gonna have to fucking be a violent son of a bitch for a while. Okay? That's what it takes to win. It's failure makes you angry. And anger makes you strong. Really. Like go read the Sith code. Like you shouldn't always act out of anger, but in things like what we're talking about in combat, in fighting against China, it's exactly how you should be. They think they're better than us. They think they're smarter than us. They'd like to kill us all. That's really what it is. Go watch their military parades. That's why they're parading. They're wanting you to know it. I do what I do because I walk softly and carry a very big stick. I don't feel the need to fight. The opponent that I see as being worthy of a fight is China. This place is ridiculous. And the part that gets to me is basically that because of a handful of things, the American federal government will never, ever, in a billion fucking years, ever trust me with anything. China, if they were, I mean, not China, if Australia, if they were being invaded by China, maybe they might get desperate enough to overlook some shit. Especially if all I'm going to do is teach them how to fucking think, which they probably need. Like that's, the good part about me is that both sides of my brain work really well and they communicate really well. And that makes me able to be creative and artsy and also like make knives. Like this is not everyone can just do this. I know that. I've seen people that tried hard. Like I've seen people that tried as hard as I did and they just for whatever reason they don't have the talent for it. They don't have whatever it is. And like I've even tried to help them. Whatever it is, like they I think part of it is you need strong hands. And like that's, my hands are weak as fuck now. Thanks estrogen, but I'm going to try to find workarounds for that, but that was always my go-to when people were like, "Well, how do you do this?" Well, I just hold it real still and put it to a grinder. Right? You eyeball it? Like, well, yeah, that's how I make the whole knife. This is the part that makes you dangerous. Go look at my knives and know that everything I ever made, I made with a Sharpie marker, a bar of steel, and a hammer. And the Sharpie marker, I doodle on it, kind of roughly kind of what I'm planning, what my cuts might be. And I start cutting. And if my cuts go wrong, I change my plan. Okay. Now, imagine that we're fighting. Do you think that ability to work on the fly and improvise and adapt is going to fucking ever come in handy? I'm good at thinking on my feet in 140-degree heat while swinging a hammer and moving metal. Good luck. I have disadvantages. I know this. And like this is why like oh I was always kind of bitter because basically brain wise I could have been anything I ever fucking wanted to be. Body wise genetics let me down. And I think that's a gift in some ways. Like I've been forced in my life to be smarter because like yeah, I have unlimited fucking hand strength, but I don't have, unlimited everything. Like I can lift heavy objects, okay? I'm even pretty fast over short distances. I'm not an endurance runner, okay? That's the kind of shit that like again, I lost the genetic lottery. Me lightweight, like skin and bones is probably heavier than most of you fat. I think that sucks. I thought it always sucked. That like I wasn't even allowed to try. This is in a nutshell why I'm waiting for the world to end and for it to get to a point to where whoever's the most violent makes the rules. Because like that's better than this. At least for me. It's not better for everybody. It's not better for my grandma. But, when you no longer respect anyone or anything, life, when you are a fucking communist piece of shit like what America's turning into, time to go fucking make Texas too in Australia now. I like the idea of Australia. Like, it's much more reasonable than any of the other options. They speak English. They have similar values to us, believe it or not. I think if we sat down and talked with the Australians, they'd be like, okay. Like, there's a few of them that are like part of the Democrats or whatever, but like this is if Canada is more Democrat than Republican, basically, and America is kind of a 50-50 mix, Australia is like this weird mix where they're neither one nor the other. They're neither fish nor fowl. They're kind of like the Canadians in that they're their own thing. But they've been more conservative than anything else, I think. At least when it comes to the geopolitical sphere. You don't hear shit coming out of fucking Australia like comes out of the US where it's like apologizing for fucking being what they are. I think suburbia in America is hell. Like we all live there. Gotta be someplace better than this. See you guys later.